very hard climb, and I think there'll be a break. They'll go to the top of that, and I think it will make a little difference there. But then in the end, it's a very long test and very, very long, 15 kilometres. And then it's downhill hard towards the end. So it's a sprint? No. Someone will attack at the end? Yes. Matthias can do something good for us, he says. Well, there we are. Shelmos is the man. I picked him yesterday, possibly a day too early, Brian.
Yeah, you did. I said Albert Story would be their sprinter. Very quick. Finished in the podium, top 3 yesterday. But I think it's going to be very difficult today. And like you said there, Shelmos would be the man. But let's hope that the other 3 don't sprint past Landa and he ends up 4th in his bonus sprint.
That would be heartbreaking.
But I think that of the other teams that are here, I don't think Kaharua will be interested. However, Astana, if I was maybe sitting in the car and, I thought Landa was a threat, he is, in the general classification, I wouldn't just kind of gift him. Looks as if he's getting a little bit of help, so it looks like they will stay away.
Let's see, there's 3 Spanish riders here, and I imagine this is barring victorious Neil Stevens. Just as detailed, I'm not sure it was, but anyway.
Yeah, it was Neil Stevens, as you said about the bonuses. He just has to make sure he gets the bonus seconds. That's what they're concentrating on at the moment, and there might be 1 or 2, definitely maybe a Astana thinking, I'm not going to just gift Landa just because he's attacked and got here. I'm not going to gift him. So he really will have to kind of watch. Of course, he'll communicate with the other riders. He's only interested in the bonuses. The other 3 riders in the breakaway are not interested in the bonuses. But are any of their teammates behind interested in not allowing Landa to get those 3 seconds? That's the question.
Well, the best placed of them is Josem of Total Energies, and he's sort of hanging at the back at the moment. I don't know whether that's just because he's preserving himself. The gap has not changed, and when you have a descent, a long descent, they're freewheeling, for goodness sake, and it's an easier job if you're up front in a reduced group, and especially if you've got your nose in the wind, to just maintain the gap. So it's holding pattern at the moment, around about 42 seconds, as you can see. Similar pace to the chase as to those who are up front. They're picking their lines rather nicely, and they're going to get to that intermediate sprint before you know it. They will already be on relatively flatter terrain than we're dealing with right now. And so it's going to have an important intermediate sprint for us in a moment. Into the sunshine, there's the village where our intermediate sprint is going to take place. I hope for Landa he does it.
Yeah, like I say, he deserves it. He made the attack. No one went with him. When you see riders doing that, it's nice to see them get something out the day. Even if he just takes the 3 seconds or the 2, and he manages to stay with the riders on this final climb and finish with the front group, then great. We've got to remember there's 10, 6 and 4 in the finishing line as well.
Giovanni, ya vas acá abajo un poco tranquilidad y en buena posición, ya veis que el sprint casi es arriba de la montaña hoy, conforme coronemos vamos a llegar a meta, venga, oso hondo, buen trabajo los 3, venga, vamos.
Well, Venga, vamos, we all know that. Go for it. I'm not quite sure who he's speaking to. I don't think it's Garcia. He's already been snaffled, so I'm not quite sure who he's calling for action from Kern Farmer. Jordi Lopez, perhaps. Let's see. 42 seconds. Absolutely no change on this descent. They're going to get to the intermediate sprint. So do you think Landa's got the kick? Jussom is the best sprinter amongst that group, to my mind, anyway. The man from Total Energies at the back here.
He's not doing anything, the Frenchman. The other Spaniards are helping. Baroneccia and Romor are kind of helping keep this gap up, and a lot of communication here. And like we were just saying a moment ago, it's important that we heard from Neil Stevens. It's important that Landa says, "Look, I'm only interested in the 3 seconds. I'll try and ride with me, try and keep this gap." I think it's going to be very difficult to stay away for the whole stage, but I think what Landa's trying to do now is just to make friends and guarantee the 3 seconds. But Jusum at the back there, that's a different story. He's not doing any work. I know he only started today at 10 seconds, but I think in the first bonus sprint he did take the maximum points there. He's already taken 3 seconds, but will he be there in the end? I really don't think so. No. Mind you, it's more of a draggy climb that we've got. He's not a bad climber, sort of rolling terrain. It's a bit of an ATV, an all-terrain vehicle, really. But let's see. Here's your chase. It's lost a bit of punch because they now know that the intermediate sprint is going to go to those up front. So that drive and desire is just missing a little bit. These are the flatlands that I was telling you about that bring us to the intermediate sprint. Once we go through it, we then pick up and we start that really draggy climbing for about 23 kilometres before we get up and over the top, and then start to think about coming down into town. Here's Eddie Dunbar just taking a feed. He's got his kinesio tape all over the place. Looks like he's had a little bit of strain out there, and here we are. It's rather pretty open plain. Get yourself ready for this intermediate. I hope we get downstairs and see it. Had a few rollovers in the past which we've missed, but we're still a wee way away from it. I'm looking forward to this, Brian. Yeah, I don't think there'll be a lot of contest in it in the front. The worry for Landa is Alan Jusson of Total Energies. He's the virtual leader at the moment on the roads. He's already taken the 3 seconds, started today at 10 seconds. That's on the yellow jersey of Hayton. He's been dropped. But Ineos taking control like they did yesterday of the stage, thinking of Martinez today. They did mention obviously Omar Fraile, but we're about 500-600 metres away from this bonus sprint. Landa will definitely take some seconds here. He's hoping for all three, of course. Just almost a brief chat there from Javier Romo. I don't know whether that was I'll come through now and I won't fight you for it. Who knows? I mean, this it's all very well forming an alliance here, but you've got to explain that when you get back to base. Sure so. And there we are. Yeah. He's waiting. He's rolling through. In fact, for the first time in a long time, he's actually not opened up a gap for somebody to drop in who's relaying. He's been sat at the back. Whoa! That is a real slammer. They come into town, and you can see Landa really very much up for this. Jussom has just been distanced ever so slightly, almost acting as guard is Baroneccia, the king of the mountains for the time being. Here comes Jussom just onto his back wheel, and I think this may well be contended. Let's see. This is going to be fascinating. I want to know what Javier Romo is going to do after that little chat. Not quite there just yet, Brian. No, the roadbook is just slightly out. It's supposed to be at 28.4, but you saw the 1 kilometre to go. Just Jussom started to move up the order a little bit. Yeah, he's now running in third place. Can't quite see where the marker is at the side of the road. I'm hoping that wasn't it. Very gentle headwind at the moment, but the wind has actually abated. And there is the sprint line right now. And it looks like they're just going to cruise through it. There we are. Honours even, I think you might say. 1 second bonus only for Jussom. And Mikel Landa gets the 3 he was hunting for. Good work. Yep, deserved. Managed to sort that out. I just thought when Jussom got out the saddle, he got a little bit excited there. But I think it was deserved getting that. Still 39 seconds. Still 27 kilometres to go, but as you say, when it comes out of town, it starts to head up ever so slightly, and the categorised part starts with 16 kilometres to go. Yep, so we start dragging from now, which is why you may have noticed a few moments ago that Jonas Vingegaard, Attila Valter was actually moving up. Rowan Dennis will be up towards the 4 as well. You can absolutely be certain of that. In fact, it's kind of a Rowan Dennis sort of day, and in fact, there are the men in yellow. They're all racked up, Brian, behind Rowan. They are. They haven't done any work in this race at all. It seems to be Movistar interested in it. Ineos yesterday with a bit of Alpecin. Looks like Gorka Izagirre for Movistar. It's now propped on the front of the peloton. Let's see. So as soon as we start heading into this valley road and then kick up,
clearly there are some battle plans about to be displayed here. And I've got a feeling that Jumbo-Visma are going to try and grind everyone to dust on this one, courtesy of the phenomenal engine that is Rowan Dennis. I love watching him in action. Camera bike's being called out of the gap. The drive for this. You want a gel? Here we are. He's offering up all kinds of gifts here. Landa's handing him all out. There you go. You might need these a little bit later. Baronecci is clearly going to try and hang out there for the next King of the Mountains. It would be a big ask for him to get there. Once we get to the top, which will be with about 5 kilometres remaining, it's downhill all the way. And in fact, we are descending a road that we previously climbed within this day. So onto this climb then, or approaching it anyway. We have sort of a draggy section within it. It's got some flatter parts of it, it's a couple of little peaks, but it does max out at 10% just before the top. We get to a little plateau when we're up there, which appears to have flattened out, so it'll look like we've stopped climbing, but the KOM comes just at the end of it. In fact, bizarrely, it's on a little downhill run. Actually, the KOM when we get over the knoll. Applause for Landa. That was great fortitude, and if that shows his demeanour for the rest of this race, it bodes well. It's another that we must consider for the title here, Brian. I liked it.
Free Landa, that's all we want. We want him to attack every stage. Unfortunately for him, he only has just under 30 seconds, 25 kilometres to go. He has to watch now. He's got those 3 seconds, so he's got them in his pockets. He really has to watch that he doesn't do too much now, because there's still this climb to come at the end. We know that there's going to be a bit of a kind of GC beat up. He doesn't want to use a lot of energy because he wants to finish with the front runners today, and if he does, he's got those 3 seconds. But he could go from taking 3 seconds to losing 20 or 30 if he's not careful.
Well, I think he's well within his own range at the moment. Here is the peloton and the chase, and you can see who's up for it today. Well, Matthias Schelmos is the open book prediction for Trek Segafredo today. You heard that from Aberastori himself. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if indeed he lives up to that billing. I would love it to be the case. Matthias for them. Schelmos. Whatever it happens, we're going to have a hell of a finale today. 5 kilometres into town. I do love a mountain descending finish, I must say, provided everyone stays safe, but they're always full of drama, Brian.
They are, and that's why we love them. 20 seconds now to the Landa group, and I hope he's not giving everything, because there's so many good riders in this race not even put their nose in the wind yet.
Stage 2, heading for Licia, and 193.8 kilometres today. Long old day, long old stage, especially with the amount of altitude gain that we've had. Some shakes of the head here.
Berrogei segundo inguru. 5 kilometro barru hasiko gara azkeneko aldapa, eta badakizu, hor gauzak iztutu egingo dira, venga. Hor aurrian ondo sartu, ondo kokatu, eta venga, goazen, azkeneko aldapa data, venga, apa.
Well, they've got some options, some cards to play here. Jonathan Lasser, their quick man, but it's going to be Jonas Aguirre today for Cofidis. We'll see indeed whether they get themselves into the sort of position where they can make a challenge. Jonas Aguirre is a good bet, actually. In fact, this kind of climb, he's set himself a diesel pace to go up and over the top, but there's so many fresh legs here, and as Brian was saying, there's so many who haven't actually put their nose in the wind yet. When are they going to do it, Brian? It's got to be soon.
I'm not too sure it'll be soon. I think it'll be on this final climb, possibly in the kind of steeper gradients as we get towards the top. I think it'll be... Yeah, but 23 kilometres, I'm talking about maybe in about 10 kilometres time, 15 kilometres time. That's not soon, and riding a stage like this. So I think before the top of the climb, we could see a little bit kind of separation on the descent as well, which they'll have to be careful of. But Movistar, Ineos and the Eritrean champion Marhawi Kudus are setting the tempo at the front. So they're the three teams that are up for it, and EF Education have already shown today that they mean business.
See what I'm dealing with. we got three up the road here. That looks like somebody's pulled the plug, and I think it's Yusum who's just about to be tagged here. We'll find out in a few moments' time. It's too far to say whether that is he or Berenetxia. I think it's Yusum. 9 seconds. This is Landa not going full beans, and it is Berenetxia, the king of the mountains, not got the legs to go another 18 or so kilometres to get to the top and stand clear of the line. There's a train coming through, and at the moment it's being piloted by Ineos Grenadiers. Landa not emptying himself at this moment. He's done the first phase of his task. Now he just needs to keep up with his rivals for the finale, and this is a sensible thing, Brian. He's not actually emptying himself to try and push away yet.
Well, I hope he isn't.
Well, he's not.
They seem to be still riding in front. I would have probably kind of sat
that
back
is not full
like
chat.
Berenetxia, but he's still putting his nose in the wind. It's still a bit of energy he is using. I know he always looks super cool, but you know, Landa, just as I said before, just has to be careful because he knows that this is a GC day. The attacks will come. Where will they come from? Well, we've just mentioned that Ineos, Movistar and EF Education Easy Post are up for the challenge today, and you know, they want to take the stage and potentially the lead of this race.
Well, he's been given gifts everywhere here in order to get home. Okay, it looks like he's had a tumble as well. Might actually be an insect bite, you just never know. We're hearing from Remy Cavagna in a few moments' time. Spoke to him at the beginning of the day. Well, those who have an option are clearly displaying that right now. UAE looking nice and lively, I must say. Groshana doing his turn.
Pas d'objectif sur général ici? Je pense qu'on n'a pas. Non, je pense que le général.
General classification here. I think the general is not the objective for our team here. It's to win a stage with one of the riders there, and we'll see. Today it's a new opportunity. It's not easy, but it gets tougher as the day goes along. A lot of racers say that it's going to be a sprint. What's your opinion? I think it's going to be a bit of a mess, to be honest, with the downhill. We'll say at the arrival, almost at the top, at the end, you got to go over fully ready for that descent. And I think that in the end, the fewer riders as possible will be better. Here we've got riders that are playing for the general. You've also got those who are going for stage wins. Many riders with many possibilities out there. If a rider wants to attack or make the descent alone, what do you think? I also think that because of the very good, we've got some very good descenders here, and I think also they know the downhill, a few of the local riders as well. So yeah, it could be a good card to play. And are you going to protect Mauro Schmidt? Why not try my luck a bit at the start or in the end, climbs at the end? I think it suits me. Not too difficult, 5-6%, so it suits me to be there. We'll see how the peloton goes, how organised they are, and see what opportunities there are. It's only bonuses. Only bonuses. There you are. There's a man who believes in himself. Asked whether he's which of his teammates, he said no, me. he basically had the extra shredded wheat at breakfast there, Brian.
It's not an overly difficult climb. You're talking about 11 kilometres, 3.28% maximum. But we always say it's the pace you go up this climb, and if the GC riders come out and play, which I think they will, it's going to be very difficult for these kind of non-climber types. Some of the sprinters, they've already been distanced, some of them. Remy Cavagna's got the power, and it's not a steep. We've already done the steep climbs, but you know, they went up there at pace that previous climb, but not an overly difficult climb up towards the finish. The descent will come into play, but I think the pace may may shred this peloton down a little bit more.
Landa just going for some sustenance. This will be with a plan to embed himself, I think, ultimately. He's holding at 13 seconds at the moment. I guess that's a good holding distance. We've been through our intermediate sprint, for those of you who are just joining us. We've had 2 today. But Landa took the 3 bonus seconds to put himself level with Dani Martinez overall. We've got Alain Jaussaum, who featured in the first sprint of the day as part of the original breakaway that Landa bridged to once it started to just disintegrate a little. Now finds himself as part of a 3-man group with Javier Roma of Astana joining Jaussaum and Landa. Here's Movistar. They do have plenty of options today. In fact, almost an abundance of riches. And you can see that, mob-handed at the front as they are. They want to do it for their home race as well, or one of their home races, I guess you might say. Movistar would love to do it for the Spanish nation. I know we're in the Basque Country, and people get very animated about that, but you get the idea. Nonetheless, they'll be feeling that they've got a chance today as Romo gets tagged. And the 2 principals, those who had the best time at the beginning of the day of the breakaway group. And here they are. Only 4 seconds down on the lead time now is Jaussaum because of the bonus seconds. They both started, as you can see, with a 10-second deficit. But take 3 off that for Landa and indeed 5 off that for Jaussaum. In fact, 4 off that, I beg your pardon. Just under 20 kilometres to go, and Mikel Landa finds himself almost accidentally out front at a moment such as this. He pushed on to get bonus seconds in the intermediate sprint, and he finds a 7-second gap. This is hardly a full drive on one of the little flat sections that we've got within our final climb. It is already classified now, I can tell you. Once we get up and over the top, we'll have a 5-kilometre descent back into town. We've already been through town, albeit in the opposite direction. And the descent that we will take ultimately to bring us back home was a climb earlier on.
No stress, all good.
No stress, all good. Trek Segafredo today, Matthias Schelmoes is their battle plan. I'm going to say that I picked him earlier on because I did. I also picked him yesterday. But it was my cheeky. Yeah, every day until it works. But for today, Brian, who do you fancy?
I'm thinking maybe, kind of looking at it, maybe kind of Carapaz, maybe a Martinez type of day, someone that can go in this group and maybe steal a few seconds in the run down that descent. It does get kind of rather tricky, and you have to be full of confidence to be able to do that. And I know these 2 riders have done this in the past. It really depends how they climb this, and I'm pretty sure that I have Marc Soler coming into my mind at the moment. He's the sort of rider that will try and do something and try and come onto the descent over the top, onto the descent 5 kilometres downhill. He's done it in the past. I think it's pretty much an open book in this one. It's very difficult to pick a winner. So I would think that the likes of Dani Martinez, for me, could be one of the favourites for this stage today.
Let's see. Dani Martinez certainly got the vim and vigour to go for it. I can't decide whether who from EF Education Easy Post to go for. I'm convinced they're going to be on the podium today. I'm going to go left field with Luis Leon Sanchez to dial the clock back just because of the madness of his descending abilities. He may be too far off by the time we get there for him to be able to show that, but hey, you never know. Intermarché Wanty kicking on. They've got Rui Costa, of course, for the overall. Who else could be a feature for them today? Well, Zimmerman climbs well, so does Dion Smith. Julian Calmejar suffered a crash, unfortunately, earlier on today. Rui Costa might well be there, the Portuguese for Intermarché, and in fact they're sort of showing their hand at the moment. So this is a probing run that we've got with 18.1 kilometres to go. I like this sort of scenario, Brian, where it's people say, who's your pick? And you say, I've no idea, because there's so many who can win it.
There is. There's also Rui Costa as well for Intermarché. So you know, it is very much open. It really depends on how hard to go up this climb, because Aramburu is still here. We know he can climb, he can get over this type of climb, but if it's hard enough, then Aramburu could definitely be a feature. But I just think it might be a little bit too hard in the end for him.
Well, I mentioned the crash that Karmajan had, and there you are. You can clearly see precisely that. It looks like they've torn his shorts just a little bit to possibly offer him up a bit of spray. That's you know when a rider's had that spray if they're up there behind you, because you hear them wince. But yeah, he's going to have a bit of an uncomfortable night. So Landa now back with the peloton along with everybody else. I think Landa was looked reasonably comfortable today. I thought that was a great display of power just to leave everyone behind, and it was a momentary lapse from those who might have actually gone with him and neutralised that, and he's got himself back into a happier place. But Karmajan is the man that's pushing on at the moment, and it looks like they're tempoing it just for the time being. They've got to take care, Brian. This is the sort of day that in the past Pierre Latour would have just said, see ya, and off he'd go. We've got a lot of those sort of riders that have got a history of going well at moments such as this, but there's too many of them for them all to have a go.
Well, it just goes to show you that now we're starting to see a few teams attacking now, that the pace has been kind of knocked out, the peloton. They know that you know, they're starting this climb very soon. They know how difficult it can be at pace. So they're kind of sitting back, allowing these attacks to kind of go. I just think Landa, he kind of kept it going a little bit too long in my book. I would have probably called him back a little bit sooner, but he just wanted to kind of roll along. But Karmajan, we know what he's capable of. Been in the wars today, as you can clearly see. But Carual throwing a man up the roads. It's who's going to instigate it, who's going to set the tempo. And I think for Movistar, we just mentioned, if Movistar control it, then Aramburu has got a great chance of winning this stage. But if they want to kind of rip it up and think of Enric Mas and Guerrero and things like that, then they have to do a bit more of a pace up this climb. So it will really depend on who wants to take it on. The same for Ineos. They've got Martinez and even Omar Fraile in this type of finish. So it really depends on who wants to take this climb at pace. And if they do, then it will split. If they don't, then for me, Aramburu has got a great chance of winning here.
I'm kind of hoping this is Aulias Alois who's coming over. He's a really good all-rounder for Kai Rural in this kind of situation. In fact, yesterday he had a very good finish, didn't he? He was fifth yesterday, Alois. So, and it is Balderston who's made the trip. Not as I'd hoped, but just because I think they would have had a greater chance of pulling something off here. Ed Prados is their, to my mind anyway, their most accomplished rider. Getting a little bit off some people's radar of late, but let's see if he manages to kick the door open and remind us of his greatness. But at the moment, Balderston is Abel Balderston, who's gone off and up the road. Come on then, who's got what it takes today? Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if Ingigo comes through and does it. The way that they may well attack this, I don't think it's hard enough to make some big gaps, and therein lies the problem. How much effort do you want to put into this day, Brian, when we've got plenty of others that will be just as challenging, if not more so?
There is, but you have to look at every opportunity, and today is another opportunity. We saw the sprint yesterday, the last sprint. Vingegaard came up there and took 2 seconds. So I think you have to look at every opportunity, because you don't know what's going to happen over the next few days. And again, it's an opportunity to take it on from the front, take it at pace. And if you look at the team of Vingegaard and Jumbo-Visma, they don't really have a kind of fast finisher anyway. So it's, that's the kind of team that would maybe want to take it on. Whether they've got the firepower to be able to do that is a different thing altogether. But I really do think that their opportunity is with Vingegaard, and if Vingegaard wants to take some bonus seconds at the end or try something, then he has to do it on this climb.
Let's see if he does. Well, green and blue jerseys embedded within this group as well. 14.8 kilometres from home, and less than 10 before we get to the top. this does have some gnarly sections in it, Brian. Nothing too dramatic. And it's going to be a holding pattern, I think, until late on, when I think we might start sprinting over the top. It goes to a little plateau before we actually get to our descent. Here we are. There's an indication of what we're dealing with, Brian.
Yeah, it's 3.8 and 3.2 in average, so it's not overly difficult. You can see that from the profile. Maximum there you saw in red there, halfway up the climb at 8%. If they want to kind of split it up, that's the opportunity. They could possibly do that. You can race over the top onto that descent. I think the descent will cause some problems for some of the riders, and gaps may open in the descent. But for the moment, Gorka Izagirre for Movistar leading the way with the Castro Viejo of Ineos, and no other team want to really take this one on for the moment. So this is really playing into the hands of Aramburu, who's just... You can see there on the right-hand side of the picture, he looks comfortable. He finished 4th yesterday, capable of getting over this climb, not unless someone wants to kind of rip it to pieces.
This is what we're dealing with. So maxing around about 10% in the middle of the climb. Once we get to about 2 kilometres to go, it does flatten out before we suddenly tip over the lip, and then all hell breaks loose as we come back into town. So strap yourselves in, because this is going to get dramatic. Couple of little steps along the way, and then it's going to be a real driver into town by the end. Well, I don't think you'll be seeing the King of the Mountains jersey again, or the yellow jersey, but Mauro Schmidt is, for Soudal Quickstep, is wearing the blue points jersey on behalf of Ethan Hayter, who, of course, owned that at the beginning of this race. So yeah, watch that green jersey. Mauro Schmidt more than capable by the time we get to the end. Who's wearing the Young Riders jersey, the blue jersey, Brian?
Skelmos.
There you go.
Surprised you didn't know that.
There we are. Well, Schelmos, my man for today. Didn't spot him. And just busy trying to check. But I can't find the Young Riders classification. But anyway, there you go. Schelmos it is then. Watch out for him. In the blue jersey, unfamiliar. 13 kilometres, still can't find it. 8 kilometres to go before we get to the top of this one, Brian.
Yeah, and it's kind of slow build up for the moment.
Es difícil, pero tenemos que llegar al máximo posible. Has echado tu baza ya.
So for the moment, still Movistar on the front with Gorka Izagirre. You can just look behind there. You can see EF Education, Easy Post in the pink with multiple national champions. Half expecting them to take it on, because as we mentioned earlier, that they're a team that will try and take advantage, and they've got some great skills when it comes to climbing mountains. So another team expected to maybe kind of take this on, because they only have to look in front of them. They'll see that Aramburu for Movistar is getting a nice ride up this climb. It's just not hard enough. These two riders just kind of hanging out there at 14 seconds, which means that there's no real pace about it. And this is playing into the hands now that Ethan Hayter has been dropped. I really don't think that
seem to have lost Brian. 7.1 kilometres. Sorry, it's got a couple of sound glitches today. Hopefully it hasn't hampered you too much. I was just double checking my my Young Riders classification. It was down as women's classification. I was thinking, that's strange, but anyway. Just one of those things. Looking at the head of the race, Brian just rebooting himself. 14 seconds is the gap now that these two hold. It's not going to be of any great consequence, I'm afraid, because this is going to be about our drive into town. Now, the twists and turns that we have when we come in, we will describe them as best we can as we come to them. But it's a nasty old approach. And it's going to be stripping some of the speed out of the way that they come to home a little bit later on. 6.7 kilometres from home, only 14 seconds. This is going to be tight. Some of the cornering as well, Brian, when we have those kind of turns at the very last, it really does have a thinning down effect. It'll be single file, is what I'm trying to say. Don't expect a bunch finish here. Still troubles with Brian, I'm afraid. 13, 14 seconds is your gap right now. And on the nose, still, Ineos Grenadiers playing our game. And Movistar, who have just about, I think, a plethora of an abundance of riches after yesterday. Movistar, I thought, just didn't give everything that they possibly could. As we get another dropout. Hope you're still hearing me at the moment. 14 seconds is the gap. Yeah, I think they want to make a statement today, and they've got the firepower to do so. Let's see if that's the case. 11.1 kilometres, 6 kilometres before we get to the crest. It'll squeeze into town. Well, this is that little flat plateau I was telling you about before it kicks again. I think they've dealt with the most difficult part of the climb. Didn't really, I must say. In fact, I think our peloton is just coming to it right now. Nothing too serious, you might say. In fact, it nudges up. I'm just having a look to... yeah, around about 12% by the time we get to the top. By the way, if thanks very much for your kind thoughts along the way. A lot of you enjoying a little brief view of sunshine, especially if you've got inclement weather where you are at the moment. Always good to hear from you. If you'd like to drop us a line, it's at Carlton Kirby on Twitter. So CarltonKirby or at Bry Smithy, Brismithy. Well, we've got a little bit of race radio there, but not terribly much. And still, here comes Astana with potentially Luis Leon Sanchez for today. Is my sort of gentle pick, let's put it that way. Luke Plapp has been embedded and done a lot of work today. In fact, he's been really very much part of the engine room. Suspecting that John Zagira might have a dig. Oh, hello.
Alguna en carrera bastante antes de coronar. Todos han visto cómo es el trazado de la meta, que es muy sinuoso. Váyanse a meta. Todos los vehículos que no tengan ninguna misión, coches y motos, que no tengan ninguna misión antes de coronar, váyanse a la línea de meta. Saben todos ustedes que el descenso es complicado. Gracias.
Well, just a warning that the final descent is extremely complicated. They've already seen it as part of a climb. Now, just watch out for Jonas Aguirre. A bit of a joker today, potentially, for Cofidis, but he is a phenomenal descender. One of the best we've got here, both he and Luis Leon Sanchez. Luis Leon Sanchez's big problem is that he's so big. That can often hamper him. But Jonas Aguirre, it's the sort of a test that he will indeed start to dig into, and then once he goes up and over the top, like Bilbao, unfortunately Peo Bilbao no longer with us within this race. He's gone home due to sickness this morning. In fact, he looked off colour yesterday, which is a real trauma for him, and indeed a trial for his team, because he would have been very much part of proceedings going forward. 4.6 kilometres until we get to the top. Again, just through one of those little flatter sections, but they're still climbing here, albeit gently so. And EF are here again, and good to see that Richard Carapaz maintains his drive and determination. He's on wheel 3 just at the front. Some elbows going on here, a bit of disquiet as well. And this is where teams are just starting to get themselves up towards the front. You've got to reach out if you can. Is this Luis Leon himself? Head down, little trackies check underneath his armpit here. Not quite sure just yet that it's he until he puts his head up. But having a dig in. This is great to see. Luis Leon keeping his powder dry just for the time being. They've got some other options here. David de la Cruz, of course, and Javier Romo as well, who was up in the break. So they've given themselves an excuse almost to be where they need to be towards the end. Just preserving a bit of energy back in the pack until the very last. Well, there you go. 5 seconds the gap only as they come up to the ridge, 3.9 kilometers from home. So how's this one going to pan out today? We have no idea. That's the great thing about it. Meanwhile, still 2 up the road. Well, the motorbike's being called away as well. And it's because once we get to the rise, this will be a drag race into town. And so 2 become 3 out front, just looking behind to see who else wants to come and join the fun. It's a very tenuous gap at the moment, and the drive is on with so many. You know, a team we haven't really spoken about is Team Jaco Alula. Simon Yates himself may well have the capabilities to roll over the top. Let's see, indeed, if he does. Movistar still look lively, but starting to fade because the road's being mobbed at the moment. Still haven't seen the yellow and black either of Jumbo-Visma. We'll get there when we can. 8.1 kilometres from home, but we're just coming to that flatter section now where you'll get a little bit of a sprint before we go over the top and start heading down and into town. Let's describe what they will be dealing with when we get there. Within the last 3 kilometres, get this, there are 30 turns. Some are more significant than others. We've got some really nasty hairpins, 3 of those incidentally, just before the Flamme Rouge, and that's why Race Radio was busy warning us a few moments ago. 7.8 kilometres to go, but 2.8 before we get to the top, and this is where it does flatten out, and so there'll be a bit more pace about not only those out front but those chasing as well. Question of just feathering your effort, I guess, at a moment such as this with Trek Segafredo, Matthias Schelmos. He'll be in the blue Young Riders jersey, and there he is, just hugging the inside line for the time being. All their battle plans designed around him for the time being. Jumbo-Visma with Attila Valter, who will be doing some work for Jonas Vingegaard as well. Rowan Dennis, always a great engine room in a moment such as this. I think he's done the majority of work for them. 8 seconds is the gap then. Still they hold out, which is no bad thing at all. And De La Cruz still pushing on here. I don't know whether this is a tee-up for Luis Leon Sanchez. In fact, he almost looks like he's wearing gauntlets. And Movistar do indeed engage. This is great. Looking after primarily Enric Mas, of course, with 6 seconds as a gap. 7.2 kilometres from home. But the reason why we've got a virtual sprint at the moment is because as soon as this plateau unwinds, then we go downhill to bring it home. Jaco mobbing the centre. Here come UE Team Emirates as well. Mark Hershey, perhaps. Marc Soler, definitely within that group. They all double check each other at the moment. Plapp in the frame, mobbing the centre of the road. So many options. And Vingegaard absolutely where he would like to be, and that's in the safest place out front. Christian Rodriguez, I think it is, from Astana, who's also here. Plapp still keeping it sensible, just constantly on the guide. Danny Martinez, never that far off the front. And Omar Freire has done a fantastic job. He's a great descender himself. That's Martinez on his back wheel. Over the other side is Jaco Alula as well. 6.5 kilometres from home, only 1,500 metres for the breakaway, which sit just in front of our camera at the moment as Plapp still picks it up. Ineos Grenadiers doing a fantastic amount of work at the moment. I hope it pays off for them. Certainly did yesterday for Ethan Hayter, who took the lead of this race. It could be a swap within the team, I think it's fair to say. 3 seconds only the margin. 2 now. De La Cruz still out there, but he's busy almost lazily checking over his shoulder, and that's the reason why. One camera bike through, another one gone, and we have a look at the back of the pack with 6 kilometres remaining. This is that little tip lip that I was telling you about at the top. So the King of the Mountains points still up ahead of us, despite the fact that we're already going downhill, but we go significantly quicker downhill in a few minutes' time. 5.8 kilometres from home, and still the drive goes on. Well, what a fabulous day this has been, and it's just about to get a little bit more lively in a few moments' time. Goodness me, what Brian is missing at the moment. Sorry, we've just had some link problems with him, but we'll hopefully get him back just before the end. Let's wait and see if we do. 5.5 kilometres from home, and here we go in earnest, and our descent. EF Education also a part of the frame here, but UAE Team Emirates look extraordinarily lively today. Groupama France de Jeux not to be discounted as well, and then mobbing the front. I think we might have Brian back. Are you with us, Brian? Still not at home, I'm afraid. 5.2 kilometres to go then, and Astana dig in, and it is is it Lewis Leon at the front? I hope it is, just for my own bragging rights at the end of the day. This is where the twists and turns begin. They're quite benign at the beginning and get more serious deeper into the run that we get. Blue jersey of Shelmores very much at the front. This is great. So they spread across the line, and every single one just seeing a little bit of a gap and then opening it up, and indeed inviting themselves to the party, you might say. Turning in. 4.7 kilometres to go. And Groupama France de Jeux having a good run at this. Romain Gregoire, David Godot also not that far off the front. This is going to turn in, as Brian said, as a day for the GC men by the looks of things. Vingegaard not that far off the pace. Now, in fact, he's just drifting into second place, as you can see, just off the nose. Haven't seen Simon Yates just yet, but I'm just wondering, that looks too big for him up towards the front at the moment. May well be. 4.1 kilometres from home as the twists and the turns begin to unwind here. With in about 600 metres time, there is a severe double right-hander that brings us to the 3 kilometres to go marker, and that's the first of their finish lines, if you will. And still we're digging into this, and that looks like Luis Leon Sanchez in second place. If that is the case, can't quite see at the moment as we rock and roll. No, still David De La Cruz has another dig. 3.4 kilometres from home, and look at the pace here, just nudging up over to over 70 kilometres per hour. This is one of those days where you've got to be brave, but you also, in certain ways, have to be sensible as well. Let's just hope that they all hold it together in a decent fashion by the time we get to the end here today. You certainly will know that they've had some action. And so Marc Soler, acceleration, just keeping himself in a fine place. But is it the sort of thing that has got a mechanical problem as well? I'm hearing for Danny Martinez. That's not great news, which is why they've gone backwards all of a sudden. So Danny Martinez out of it as well. Could Luke Plapp open up for them? So UAE Team Emirates, Marc Soler was where he wanted to be as well. 2.5 kilometres from home, and this is where those twists and turns really do start to get magnified as we head for home. We have, as we say, those lethal hairpins at the very last, but the man who had an option yesterday messed it up, Aaron Burrow. Well, he's got a great chance right now, but at what cost? Let's wait and see. Has he gone too early? That's the big question. 2 kilometres from home. At the moment, he's still very much threading it. Aaron Burrow holding everyone in abeyance. Fingergo has a look over his shoulder. Can't quite see who indeed is with him for the time being. And still they drive on. This is fantastic. 1,800 metres to go. And there's that hairpin I was telling you about. There's a few others as well still to come. And in fact, that's the first of them, a big left-hander. They drive into it now. 1,600 metres remaining. Others coming to join the party. Oh, taking it extremely wide and just being mobbed, Aaron Burrow, at the moment. Maybe it's a question of him keeping his powder dry. Guglielmi is here for Arkea Samsic, who's also made the trip, and a few others likewise. Shelmos suddenly appears then with the blue helmet, and still we wait. 1.2 kilometres from home. What a fantastic drama we've got unfolding before your very eyes. I think that might well be Sobrero who's off the front at the moment. Aaron Burrow keeping it very, very sensible. Has just backed into the group for now. Can he possibly go again? Here's your Flamme Rouge. 800 metres remaining. Into the shadows they go. Still can't see who's fully involved here and fully committed. I think Fabio Fellini's also involved here. This is brilliant. 600 metres only, and now they start to fold over, up and over the top. Here comes Mark Hershey, I believe, for UAE Team Emirates as well. It's a real mix down there. Time to open up and go for it if you possibly can. Aaron Burrow out of the frame just for the time being. Jayco still very much involved here. In fact, from this helicopter shot, it's a long way downstairs. Luis Leon in fact, it's Scaroni who's involved here, and time for a big pickup as Ida Schelling hits the front right now. He's got a couple of flick-flacks to go. Is he going to take this all the way? Schelling is able to light it up early, and in fact he's going to bring it home all the way. The man from Bora timed it absolutely beautifully at the very last, and indeed carried it to the line. Excellent work by Bora Hansgrohe, and indeed Sergio Aguita for them ultimately it will be, but Ida Schelling is the man who made the day his own. Great work by him, and in fact we'll wait for that official result. It was a real skirmish amongst some proper power men at the top there. Marc Soler tried to open it all up. Aaron Burrow folded over for Movistar. Thought that Shelmos would get involved towards the end, but it was Ida Schelling. Didn't see him all day, didn't see much of Bora either, and they've absolutely delivered. Super job. Congratulations raining in. Well, what about that? Fabulous, fabulous result for Bora Hansgrohe. If Schelling, well, if he was disappointed yesterday, he's been able to park that disappointment today in a fine manner. Good work by him. Good work by Bora Hansgrohe as well. And a great race today. We've got another one tomorrow, I can tell you. In fact, if you thought today was a lumpy profile, then hold on to your hats for tomorrow. In fact, we have a series of walls, including an extremely sterling one at the end into Valabona. And there'll be a few drips and drabs, some gaps opening up here. And we'll see as well how it pans out overall. Here's your overhead. Now, just trying to pick out Schelling from this kind of distance. It's a moderately indistinct kit, I must say, Bora Hansgrohe. I guess that's what you get for copying the colours of camouflage. He hit out reasonably early, to be honest. I thought that it was going to be a little closer than it turned out to be, but the technical nature, I think, of the approach really played into his hands. And in fact, one roundabout after another, and he held everyone in abeyance. Great work. Sobrero just managing to come home in second place, ahead of the fast finishing David Godot. Gets some useful bonus seconds there. 4 added to his tally. We'll see how that pans out towards the end. But, well, you had to be strong today in order not only to take on the climbs, but have something left in the tank at the end. And we've seen this time and time again from Ida Schelling. He's a man who almost looks like a kid in a toy shop, really, when he gets a good finish. I remember him in Catalonia saying, look at the guys who finished behind me, and he was absolutely right. He got on the day's podium on a couple of occasions. Saw him in Oman functioning very well as well into the Yiti Hills, and so he's got that kick about him when he needs it. Today he needed it, and he made it stick. That was Peter Klaas. Now wait till you hear the interview with him. This is going to be a big deal for him. This is the biggest win of his young career, and we're going to be hearing a lot more of him as well. Yes, the Valle d'Aosta, Mont Blanc, a couple of years ago as a youngster. Second the GC in the Tour of Norway, though, don't forget, which is why he basically announced himself then, I guess you might say. But this is like nothing before. A huge win for him, and when he looks at the roster of starters for the day, he's going to feel extraordinarily proud. Good lad. Ida Schelling brings it in. Well, we're going to get downstairs, and we're going to hear from David Gaudu, I believe, who has finished in third place today. Useful bonus seconds.
Racontez-nous ce final en descente assez atypique, et vous étiez là, vous avez pas.
Well, finish on the descent, not a normal finish for you.
Franchement, je pense que plus que limite de faire un final comme ça sur une course tout court, que ça soit une course amateur, ça aurait été une course amateur, ça aurait été pareil. Well,
I've done this sort of thing as in my younger group. This finish was a little bit strange, of course, for everybody. You had to be there on the final. I got some bonifications points as seconds as well, so that's very good. First top three, it's always great to be there. Just got to work hard today. Team worked hard, I did it too. What about the legs? Well, some great days, some crazy days, of course, as well. You've got to maintain your energy on days like this as well. Just save something. So better than yesterday, at least.
Sí, bueno, sabíamos que una etapa era una etapa buena para nosotros, pero bueno, en la bajada pensaba que había cogido un hueco e intentaba ahí.
Well, it was a great stage for us, says Aaron Burrow, but just didn't get the result that we wanted at the end.
Bueno, eso, al final era una llegada muy complicada, ¿no? El que entraba falta de 300.
Well, when you get a final such as that is so complicated, you just have to do your best, and sometimes it doesn't work out. It's like that.
Sí, yo creo que estoy bien, así que bueno, tenemos otras oportunidades, así que seguiremos así.
Try and do some good things, try to be brave, but it didn't quite work. Was the final just a little bit dangerous, a bit nervous out there? Well, yeah, after the first couple of corners towards the end there, it got a little bit tricky. So you've got to be the master of it, and of his own destiny, I guess you might say, is this man. Young Dutchman from The Hague. Well, that's where the Dutch